Donald Trump promises you something, he will deliver. To the Iranian people, President Trump has your back. Help will be on the way. I'm not going to say any more.
Well, the Trump administration appears to be inching even closer to a hot war with Iran because, God forbid Israel leave us the F alone for once and not drag us into a war that we shouldn't be involved in. And if that wasn't evident enough by warmonger Senator Lindsey Graham's statements and his cryptic message there, Donald Trump cleared things up pretty quickly. Now, what do I mean by that? He posted on Truth Social, of course. This was from earlier this morning where he says, a massive armada is heading to Iran. Great. That's awesome. That's exactly what we need to be spending money on. He says it is moving quickly with great power, enthusiasm, and purpose. It is a larger fleet headed by the great aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln than that sent to Venezuela. Like with Venezuela, it is ready, willing, and able to rapidly fulfill its mission with speed and violence if necessary. What's the mission? What's the mission though? Is the mission the nuclear sites that you claim to have obliterated? Okay, so it's not the nuclear sites. So what's the mission? Is the mission to protect demonstrators and protesters as you've done so well here in the United States? What's the mission? Oh, I know what the mission is. The mission is to take orders from your daddy, Benjamin Netanyahu, okay, spill US blood and use US money to help Israel build its empire. That's what this is all about. It's so stupid and it's so infuriating. He continues, hopefully Iran will quickly come to the table and negotiate a fair and equitable deal. No nuclear weapons, one that is good for all parties. Well, that deal existed. You ripped it up in 2018. It was called the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal. And it was an agreement signed by not just the United States and Iran, but other foreign countries were involved in the oversight to ensure that Iran was following through with this agreement that they would not enrich uranium or build nuclear weapons. So this is what Trump does. He breaks things. And oftentimes after breaking things, he'll find a way to cobble things back together again and then give himself a pat on the back as if he accomplished a damn thing when he didn't accomplish anything. He just broke things, took some, super glue, tried to put it all back together, and then demands everyone's admiration and respect. Okay. And why would Iran trust him? Why would Iran want to sit down and have a negotiation with a guy who claimed that he was looking forward to negotiating and soon after that proceeded to bomb the hell out of Iran? So Trump's been all over the place lately when it comes to Iran, by the way. He's always all over the place. He always likes to speak from both sides of his mouth. And during the World Economic Forum in Davos last week, he made it clear that he's willing to speak to Iranian leaders and avoid a war. Watch.
We have a lot of ships going that direction, just in case. We have a big flotilla going in that direction, and we'll see what happens. We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely. I stopped 837 hangings on Thursday. Mostly young men were going to be hung on Thursday. And I said, if you hang those people, you're going to be hit harder than you've ever been hit. It'll make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts. And an hour before this horrible thing was going to take place, they canceled it.
Look, I don't know what Trump is saying and whether or not it's true. What I do know is that following the chaos and violence and everything that broke out in Iran, after the actual legitimate demonstrators, Iranian demonstrators, were co-opted by Mossad-fueled lunatics who were heavily armed, Iran pretty quickly shut the protests down entirely in a violent way. Yes, I will admit that and agree with that. But they also tried to find the Mossad agents who were part of this effort to spur a regime change in Iran. And if those were the individuals that Iran was planning to hang that Trump saved, then no, he didn't save any lives that are valuable here. In fact, he intervened on behalf of terrible people who have caused pain, suffering, and complete and utter disaster in several countries across the globe. That's the reality of the Mossad agents. Yeah, they can get effed. But anyway, moving on. Iran has responded to this, and here's what they posted on X. Last time the US blundered into wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, it squandered over $7 trillion. $7 trillion, that's true, by the way, and lost more than 7,000 American lives. That's also true. How many lives did Israel lose in those wars that, especially when it comes to Iraq, they persuaded us into fighting on their behalf? How many IDF soldiers were sent to Iraq? Oh, that's right, 0. But they continue. Iran stands ready for dialogue based on mutual respect and interests. But if pushed, it will defend itself and respond like never before. That's in all caps, very Trump-like. I think that's on purpose. Now, Iranian foreign minister also weighed in on this and put out the following statement. Our brave armed forces are prepared with their fingers on the trigger to immediately and powerfully respond to any aggression against our beloved land, air, and sea. The valuable lessons learned from the 12-day war have enabled us to respond even more strongly, rapidly, and profoundly. At the same time, Iran, they continue with the statement, has always welcomed a mutually beneficial, fair, and equitable nuclear deal on equal footing and free from coercion, threats, and intimidation, which ensures Iran's rights to peaceful nuclear technology and guarantees no nuclear weapons. Such weapons have no place in our security calculations, and we have never sought to acquire them. What would be great about Iran acquiring nuclear weapons is that we wouldn't have to keep doing this. Are we going to go to war? Are we going to go to war? Oh my God, we're not going to go to war. Thank God. Oh, we're going to go to war. Are we not going to go to war? I'm so sick of it. We shouldn't go to war with Iran. We shouldn't go to war with Iran. It's that simple. If Iran had nuclear weapons, it would serve as a deterrent, and Israel would maybe shut the F up for once in their lives and stop trying to drag the US into a war with Iran. But that's not going to happen unless Iran has some sort of deterrent. So the US strength, by the way, in being able to withstand, or not even withstand, just being able to carry out what the real goal is here, which is regime change, that's being called into question for good reason. So Politico reported earlier this month that the US troops and ships that were once at the president's disposal have shifted to the Caribbean. A major American defense system sent to the Middle East last year has returned to South Korea. The Trump administration has also been eating away at dwindling US weapons stockpiles with the fast pace of military operations in the Red Sea, Iran, and Venezuela. In other words, even though we do spend so far almost $1 trillion a year on the Pentagon and our military, this upcoming NDAA, Trump is asking for $1.5 trillion, by the way. But even though we spend all that money, you have to keep in mind, we are involved in so many different foreign entanglements right now, so many. So we have been, under the Trump administration especially, depleting our military capabilities. I mean, like, we're bombing Somalia. We've been bombing Somalia since the 90s, am I right? You probably don't even know that. We've been bombing the Middle East. We've been arming, rebels in Syria. Obviously, what we've been doing in Venezuela, the list goes on and on and on and on. We've been arming the hell out of Israel so they can carry out their atrocities and genocide. So if you can recall, Trump gave up on defeating the Houthis in Yemen. The Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen, the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen that the United States and Saudi Arabia together tried to defeat but failed in doing so. So if the US fails in defeating an Iranian proxy, how's it going to work out for the US and our soldiers, more importantly, when it comes to the nation state that funds the proxies? I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But make no mistake about it, we will be paying the consequences of that dumb war, not Israel. So additionally, two of our biggest allies, Gulf allies, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, both love to lick the boots of Israel while pretending like they don't. And I'm not talking about the people of these countries, I'm talking about their governments, absolute disgrace. Well, they've stated that they will not aid the United States in a potential strike on Iran. According to the Wall Street Journal, the two countries ruled out the use of its airspace and territory for a potential US attack on Iran. Saudi Arabia, for instance, is worried about being drawn into conflict with Iran. Maybe they realize it's probably not a good idea. Maybe we don't want to do that. And Iran attacked the kingdom's oil facilities back in 2019 during President Trump's first term in office and did some real damage. So I think they'd like to avoid that. Plus, the US and Saudi Arabia couldn't even defeat the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen, just bears repeating. And to be clear, the US would still be able to strike targets in Iran without access to Saudi airspace and bases by sending bombers and other aircraft through Jordanian, Syrian, and Iraqi airspace, launching cruise missile attacks from submarines and using aircraft from the carrier in the Arabian Sea. However, and the however is real important to focus on here. Middle East experts say that toppling the Iranian regime or even striking it forcefully enough to dissuade it from repressing the protests. Let's all please stop pretending like anyone gives a damn about the protesters. And I'm not talking about ordinary people in this country. I'm sure ordinary people in this country do care about the protesters. I'm specifically talking about politicians. Power brokers, power players, they don't care about ordinary people. Trump doesn't care about American citizens protesting on our streets. You think he cares about, the safety and the well-being of Iranian protesters? Really? But anyway, the rest of this Wall Street Journal excerpt says, would likely require a military campaign that could last weeks or even months. Even that is an underestimate, come on. That would be more challenging without the cooperation of Gulf states. Okay, let's stop pretending. I can't stand the pretending anymore. I've been doing this job for almost 20 effing years, and I can't stand the pretending. This is not about the protesters. This is about Israel wanting regime change in Iran. That's all this is about. Iran is not a threat to the United States. Hasn't been a threat to the United States. Iran is a threat to Israel's dream and objective to pursue the Greater Israel Project. That's why Iran funds the proxy groups that try to rein in Israel as they attempt to expand into territory that doesn't belong to them. That's what this is about. So let's stop pretending. All right? You're gonna watch the show, you're gonna get the actual truth about it. Finally, we turn to Marco Rubio, who was part of a Senate hearing today, where he weighed in on the supreme leader of Iran and why we should have a presence in that part of the world in the first place. Let's start with D3. Here he is talking about what would happen if the supreme leader of Iran falls.
What happens if the supreme leader is removed in Iran? What happens next?
Well, that's an open question. I mean, no one knows who would take over. Obviously, their system is divided between the supreme leader and the IRGC that responds directly to him. And then you've got these, quasi-elected individuals, the ones that wear the suits on television who are part of their political branches, but ultimately have to run everything they do by the supreme leader. So I don't think anyone can give you a simple answer as to what happens next in Iran if the supreme leader and the regime were to fall, other than the hope that there would be some ability to have somebody within their systems that you could work towards a similar transition. I would imagine it would be even far more complex than the one we're describing now, because you're talking about a regime that's in place for a very long time.
We just want regime change because Israel, our daddy, told us that we need regime change in Iran. So we're going to spend the money and risk the lives of our soldiers to pursue that mission. But we don't really have a plan for what happens to Iran after that. A country of 92 million people, by the way. Yeah. Israel succeeded in destroying Libya, Syria, Iraq. I mean, the list goes on and on, but they won't be satisfied until they destroy Iran and balkanize Iran as well. And by the way, if you pay close attention to Israeli media, they're already building narratives to goad the United States into conflict with Qatar and also Turkey, a NATO ally. So I can't wait to see how that plays out. Who is the United States more loyal to? Israel or the NATO alliance? I think we know what the answer is.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.